All right, folks, good evening, WNBA and women's basketball fans, and welcome into the WNBA 365 Network, your 24/7, 365 comprehensive home for everything revolving around the WNBA and the rest of the women's basketball universe. Back with you folks here tonight for the final time this week and to wrap up week 4 of the WNBA 2016 campaign. Welcome in, folks, to tonight's edition of WNBA 365, Week 4 Central. We will be joined momentarily, folks, in the Hangout by our good buddy Marquez Anderson from the Project Spurs Network, but joined for the meantime by Crystal Thomas up in Los Angeles, California. Crystal, good to see you for the time being. I know that Marquez will be in soon, but other than that, how's the Friday going for you this evening?
It is going well. Cool, pretty cool little chill Friday. Got in the gym, so I feel better.
And like normal, folks, Facebook, Twitter, and the live chat box wide open for you folks. So be sure to hit us up on Facebook at facebook.com/WNBA365. Of course, will give us a like and have your voice heard on the air through there. Or, of course, visit us or shoot us a tweet on Twitter at WNBA365, at CalamaC3, at Pup1010, or at OMarquez on Twitter with the hashtag WNBA365. Or also, if you're viewing us live right now, hit up the live chat box, and we'll get to your commentary as soon as we can when we get a little break in the action. Now, folks, I do want to get to two quick stories or two quick things before we get to anything in regards to tonight's game. Now, first and foremost, folks, after the show had ended last night, myself and Crystal and Shorty were both, or all three of us were still in the off-air hangout where we kind of, get some, ideas for the next show. We talk about, random things that involve us in the league or some other or some stuff that basically goes on behind the scenes, basically, long story short. But about 1:05 a.m. this morning Pacific time, I felt two different separate earthquakes in about a 55-second span. I kind of flipped out, lost my mind, and then Shorty and Crystal, in turn, also felt that earthquake or those earthquakes. The quakes hit roughly about 80 miles east of where I live in San Diego, out in one of our desert areas, and luckily and thankfully there was no damage to my house or anyone else's property in San Diego. We did feel the jolts, though, at my house. All that fell over was a water bottle in my bedroom. So, Crystal, there's a first for everything, Katie, in regards to either, the first game being played in a sports league or the first point being scored. But, Crystal, how about the first natural disaster hitting during a WNBA network show, or in this case, just us hanging out off air? Like it did this morning, because I know it kind of startled me, and I know I kind of went, bananas last night. But what do you think?
I thought it was kind of funny because you're just like, earthquake, earthquake, and I'm just like, me and Shorty, like, we don't feel anything. And then after you said that, Shorty felt it after you did, and then I felt it over here where I was at. But it was kind of, I don't know. I've been here long enough, so now I'm kind of just like, when they happen.
Yeah, and everyone's like that. And if you've been like me, if you've been here 22 years or you live somewhere 22 years, you're used to everything that goes on. But again, nothing major to report. Just something we wanted to share because again, it happened while we were still kind of technically on air. But that was it was an off-air hangout. We wanted to share that. But also, folks, as well, Crystal, today I think a pretty a good talking point in regards to the sports world today. Of course, the legendary greatest of all time, the original GOAT, Muhammad Ali, of course, Crystal, today laid to rest in Louisville, Kentucky today. Obviously, paved the way for a lot of, athletes on both spectrums, male or female, but of course of how he was, always, on the front lines of battling for something as an activist, whether it was politically or professionally as an athlete. Crystal, if you may have seen the Ali ceremony from Louisville, Kentucky today, I guess, what is your final thoughts about Muhammad's career in his life, I guess? I know that we weren't alive to see him, in his prime, in his tip-top shape when he was out there, and putting guys on the canvas in the boxing ring, or even what he meant, though, to so many people, either with the wars in Vietnam or whatnot. But, what do you think Muhammad Ali means to you, though, on a personal or even professional level?
Honestly, I think, as far as me, I think Muhammad Ali is motivation that if you can play, or in his case, box, if you can do something as greatly as you can and you work hard for it, and you work hard for it, you can talk as much trash about it that you want to. No, I'm just playing. That's not what he really means to me. But but I think, honestly, I like his work ethic. The reason why he was so confident in what he did, the reason why he knew that he could beat you, because he worked so hard at it. He was not going to let anyone outwork him, and you saw the results. The man was a legend, still is a legend even after death. So he just motivates me to have a better work ethic as an athlete and in life in general, to never let anyone think that they can outwork you or outcompete you, and just be the best you can. And he was the best. He was the best ever.
Folks, sadly, when Muhammad Ali had fought Ken Norton here in my hometown of San Diego, as well before I was even born, but roughly 2 years before I was born, in '92, Muhammad Ali had come to San Diego, and he loved this town as much as the next guy. He actually helped build a Islamic mosque about 5 blocks from where I live here in the Linda Vista suburb of San Diego. The long story short, Muhammad had come to San Diego when we were still a pretty big fight bed or boxing bed for pro bouts in San Diego. And my dad and mom, while they were they were able to do a lot of things in regards to go to, big concerts or go to, very major sporting events in San Diego. But my dad had gotten a ticket to go to a boxing weigh-in at Paradise Point, which is now formerly Vacation Village in San Diego, located near SeaWorld, about 20 minutes from where I live down here. And long story short, my dad had come down and had seen a limousine pull up to Vacation Village, and it turned out it was Muhammad Ali, who was made a special guest appearance at this weigh-in for a fight involving Terry Morrison at the San Diego Sports Arena back in 1992. But anyway, so longer story short, pretty much, Crystal, and for everyone else out there that wants to know about this story, but my dad somehow was able to flag down, or was able to get to the front line of Muhammad Ali's limousine when it parked at Vacation Village. Muhammad Ali opens the door and does this to my dad. He tells him to come in, and he says, he pats the chair next to him. My dad spends 30 minutes in Muhammad Ali's limousine in San Diego and was able to get the back of a business card signed by Muhammad Ali, dated February 24th, 1992. And it says, "To Billy, signed Muhammad Ali." And Crystal, my dad actually found that autograph today while we were watching his funeral service from Louisville. And, that's something that, my dad has now put in his trophy case. But, that's a story he brings up a lot, though, Crystal. And I think, though, that now post Muhammad's passing, Sally, that's going to be a moment that he's going to take to his grave now in due time. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I'm pretty sure your dad will cherish forever. I mean, when it comes to any athlete, especially one like Muhammad Ali, he didn't have to stop and tell your dad, come hang out with me in my limo for a while. I mean, he could have just easily, went on by his business, but he didn't. And I think it's cool that your dad found that, and he should hold on to that, because that's going to be very valuable one day.
Yeah, so again, folks, wanted to share a couple of those stories, but again, we do, of course, wish all the best to Muhammad's family, of course, who, as we know, Crystal, as well, before we get to the action, and of course, Muhammad Ali, as well, was a big figurehead, or a big, kind of like the Jack Nicholson, you can kind of say, for the Phoenix Suns, and Mercury was always in attendance at Suns games. There was a photo the Suns had put out on their Twitter page that had Muhammad with Steve Nash during his MVP season, and then there was a photo of Muhammad visiting both the Sparks and Mercury during their great '09 playoff series there at U.S. Airways Center. So I guess, Crystal, what does it kind of mean, though, I think, as well, that you did see Muhammad Ali, also in attendance, though, at Mercury games, and being also a loyal supporter of the WNBA while he was, of course, going through his, health problems, though, towards the end of his life?
I just think that lets he respects sports, whether it's women or men's sports. I mean, as an athlete, I think athletes should respect all athletes, whether, it's men, women, soccer, football, swimming, whatever they do, because you know how hard it is to get to where you are, and the grind of it all. So I think it's pretty cool that he supported basketball and women's basketball.
All right, so with that, folks, again, so talked a bit about the SoCal earthquakes, and of course, I get to share a pretty good story. I think, of course, with my dad getting able to meet the GOAT, the original GOAT, greatest of all time, the champ Muhammad Ali, before the night was all said and done. But with that, though, guys, we'll get now to the Friday scoreboard. 3 great games today played in the WNBA, 2 that were good, and then 1 that got away from somebody this evening. Starting off, Crystal, with a final second desperation victory. It's the Sun winning their second game of the year over the Seattle Storm in a great instant classic of a game, 77-76 this evening. Final box score for the Storm, Sue Bird, 24 points in 36 minutes played. Crystal Langhorn, 14 points. Breanna Stewart, 10 points in her first game back in UConn, following the 4 consecutive championships with the UConn Huskies. Also scoring, Jewel Lloyd with 9, Alicia Clark with 7, along as well with Kalena Mosqueda-Lewis, Jenna O'Hay with 5. scoring-wise this evening. Also, playing tonight but not scoring was Ramu Tokashiki and Monica Wright, both no points. Abby Bishop, Blake Diedrich, and Markeisha Gatling both held out by Jenny Busick. Coach's decision. For the Connecticut Sun, Morgan Tuck, another Yukon local, 20 points. Alyssa Thomas, 15 points. Kelsey Bone with 10. Jasmine Thomas, 8. Alex Bentley, 7. Shanae Ogumake, 6 points. Camille Little with 5. Jonquil Jones, Kelly Ferris, Shakina Strickland all with 2. Rachel Banham, no points in 9 minutes played, and Anika Henry Morello, DNP as well tonight. The game played from the Mohegan Sun Arena in Uncasville, CT. Total attendance today, 8,075. Time of the game, 1 hour and 50 minutes. The officials were Jeff Smith, Byron Jarrett, and Tiara Cruz as the 3 officials. No text in the game. 6 different lead changes and 7 different times the game was tied this evening. So Crystal, right then and there out of the box, my big talking point tonight is the game flow again. No one really could, sustain a lead. They were tied 7 times. So Crystal, obviously, a game that I think had a lot of people on the edge of their seats in the building, and also maybe for some of us watching on League Pass. Crystal, let's talk about, before we get anything else, what are your thoughts about, sort of like the epicness of this game? Obviously, 6 different times someone went ahead, 7 times the game was tied. So what do you make about that stat for at least the first talking point of tonight's game?
Well, honestly, these teams matched up pretty well together. They're both pretty young. They're both, well, Seattle has more vets, but they're both trying to figure out what they're going to do and how they're going to move on. So I think that's one reason why the game was so close. And second, it was just an exciting game. I think, honestly, that might have been the most exciting game that was on today. No disrespect to the other games that were on, but you're looking at the scores and you look at the lead changes. You could just tell that this game was just fast-paced for both teams. And I think for Connecticut, this is a win that would boost their confidence. They're 2-7 now. Well, wait, I think they're 2-7 now. Their record's not looking so good, but Seattle. Not to say they're the best of the best teams, but they're they have really good players. In a few years, Seattle's probably going to be back up there in the rankings on the Western Conference. So I think for Connecticut, this was a good team win for them. A lot of people got involved, and this is something that we've been saying needed to happen for a while.
We now, folks, welcome in our good buddy Marquez Anderson from the Project Spurs Network. So, Marquez, we're not really going to get to the game yet, but more so the game within the game again. How the scoring flow of this game was really something to see. Again, 6 lead changes, 7 different tie scenarios in this game. So, Marquez, in spite of the fact that it was probably, but 2, bottom tier teams or bottom pedestal teams, they did produce a pretty epic game tonight. Is there any thoughts about this, about how, kind of like crazy and loony this game was with all the lead changes and tie scenarios tonight?
Yeah, I did get to catch a few points of the game, and it was definitely something that was really exciting to watch, as Crystal said. Like, the flow was back and forth. There was a lot of energy and hustle, so I think that made it even more enjoyable to watch. But overall, it was a really fun game. I wasn't expecting it to end the way it did, though. I thought Seattle would pull it out, but guess not.
Yeah, a very epic game, to say the least. So now, Crystals, we kind of now begin to digest the box scores tonight. First and foremost, Crystal, Sue Bird, sort of seemed like she's kind of been a bit revived this season. I'm not sure what it's been, but Sue had 24 points tonight, had 9 of 15 shooting, 60% from the field, made 3 of her 7 threes, and made all 3 of her free throws, plus 10 in efficiency, grabbed 4 boards, dished out 8 dimes, and had 2 steals in the game. So, Crystal, obviously, it's a game that gets away, though, but I think, though, I'm more impressed, or more like, kind of like rejoicing a bit, seeing Sue Bird again kind of playing at some type of a top-tier level with this game, at least again with 24 points. Crystal, what's your overall thoughts on either Birdie or the Seattle box score for the night?
Well, if Bird can keep it up, and I think this is amazing. As we all know, Bird is getting up there in age, and they're hoping and they're gonna need Sue Bird to be active like that every game. This is probably one of her best games. I think one of her second best games. I think she had another pretty good game a few weeks ago, but they're going to need Sue Bird to constantly play at this level if they really want to get rid of that 3-6 record that they have. This game was the perfect game for them to pick up that 4th win, but they just let it slip away at the end. You're supposed to box out every play, and they let Alyssa Thomas get a freebie because no one was there to box out and cover their men at that point. But if Sue Bird can play this consistently, Sorry, I think they will be able to get more wins.
You know, Marquez, Todd Minch just brought this stat to my attention via the chat box. And Seattle was up 42-20. They did have a pretty significant lead up until the Sun kind of got hot on that 10-0, scored that 10-0 run, and it was kind of it was kind of, kind of like cat mouse rest of the way. And also did say good to see Sue Bird have a good shooting night. But I guess Marquez, what are your thoughts though about how Seattle played again? Tough seeing a team squander a big lead, and obviously with them being up 42-28. But what do you think, though, probably was the culprit or reason why the Storm faltered at the very end of the game tonight?
Well, they started off well, but, I mean, it kind of got away from them at the end. Like, Langhorne and Bird had really good games, but they didn't get much from anyone else. And I think the X factor to me was Seattle's bench scored only 12 altogether, but then you look over at Connecticut's side, and Morgan Tuck had 20 by herself. So you can't have one player outscoring your entire bench. That's not gonna go well, especially if your starters are struggling.
So,
well,
Crystal,
majority of your starters are struggling.
Sorry about that, Marquez. But Crystal, I want to now get to we've talked about a few revenge games so far early in the year. We've either had the Mercury potentially playing the Lynx and trying to get their redemption for last season. We've had Essence Carson play against the Liberty. We've had Monique Curry playing Phoenix. But more so, Crystal, how about a homecoming game for Brianna Stewart of some sorts, along as well with Kalina Mosqueda Lewis, both the UConn players, and as well as Sue Bird, of course, going back to Unkinsville, of course, where they made names for themselves at UConn many, many years ago or very much recently. Crystal, Stewie was 4 of 14 from the field, did not make a three-pointer tonight, did make both free throws, had 10 points. So obviously, perhaps some nerves kind of going back to Connecticut for one deal. But I guess, Crystal, is there any thoughts you want to pass along about Brianna Stewart's first game back in Connecticut post-college career?
Well, some people play well when they go back home, or not really that's her home because she's originally from, I believe, New York. But in this case, when you go back to a place where you've pretty much grown up and become and developed the player you are, when you pretty much go back to where you became, essentially where she became Brianna Stewart, then I can see why there'll be nerves there. I mean, a lot of people, like, for example, Candace Parker plays well when she goes to Chicago, but a lot of people can't do well when they go back home because the pressure, they're not focused. Family and friends are there. And I'm not saying Brianna Stewart wasn't focused because she looked very focused out there. I just think it could have been some nerves, like, oh, I've pretty much became Brianna Stewart here, and I want to make sure I do my fans proud and everybody that comes to see me, I hope I do them well. And I think in that aspect, she kind of let go of the game a little bit. She, instead of letting the game come to her, she probably forced little things instead of just keeping it open and thinking of it just as another game. But I think she'll learn. I think that comes with with maturity. When she becomes a vet for probably 5-6 years down the line, I think she's gonna be able to play Connecticut so much better. But honestly, I think it's just right now, she's a rookie. She's playing in front of some of her friends and old school hometown fans from Connecticut, and a lot of people just don't do well with that kind of pressure. But I don't think it's anything big. I think she'll be back to Brianna Stewart form.
Marquez, sometimes, and I've asked this question to Candace Parker and Candace Wiggins in both the interviews I did with them, 2 years ago in regards, is it more of a, is it more of joy felt, or is it more of a headache playing or going back to playing in your hometown? And both of them were kind of like in the middle, it's kind of like a balancing act in regards of, kind of feeling one way before the game when you're back home, and sort of, trying to get in game shape or game mode when you go back on the other side of the spectrum. But Marquez, what are your thoughts again about Stewie playing her first game back in the state of Connecticut after, such a tremendous college career?
Yeah, she was definitely nervous, but I mean, I think that just comes with the territory because I mean, it was her first time back, and everything was different with that. The circumstances of the game were different. I mean, she was playing as an opposing team instead of playing for those fans, and so I kind of think she kind of let that get too heavy on her in terms of her performance-wise, because she looked a bit nervous and she did try to force a few things, but she'll get better once she learns more.
Yeah, and Todd agrees. He says experience will solve that soon for her when it does get to that point in time. So, guys, now we'll move now to the Connecticut, to the Sun. Crystal. And again, a team that has not had a whole lot of positive talking points, had a couple of positive talking points tonight in regards to Morgan Tuck having 20 points and Alyssa Thomas winning the game at the buzzer tonight with that tip-in with .5 left on the game clock to send the Sun to win number 2 on the season. So I guess, Crystal, I like the fact, though, that it was, some of the young kids kind of stepping up, and you actually had kind of talked about Alyssa Thomas stepping up last night on the program, and here she is stepping up in a big situation and winning the ball game for Connecticut at the Final Horn. So, Crystal, what are your thoughts, though, about how Connecticut, really rallied back after that really slow start, and again, rallying off the first 10 points of the third quarter after being down big at halftime?
I think Alyssa Thomas must have heard me, because they're going to rely on her heavily. I mean, as we all saw, Alex Bentley struggled a lot today. I mean, she couldn't buy a basket. She couldn't trade a basket in. She couldn't say, "Hi, basket, can you help me out?" Like, nothing was going on for her today. So it was very important that Alyssa Thomas stepped up when she did. And it's about time, honestly. I've been saying this. I said, I can't remember what show, but I've said a little bit ago that Alyssa Thomas has to step up in order for Connecticut to start winning games. And she stepped up in a big way, hitting that game winner. She was in the right spot at the right time, but also that's where Seattle has to do a better job of defending. You can't defend when you play defense. You have to defend all the way to the last second, and that's why you can't let somebody go just because they missed a shot. You have to, be with your man at all times until that final buzzer rings. And this was a good win for Connecticut. I think it's a confidence win for them. I mean, they need it. They're 2-7. I don't know. I mean, it's still early. Maybe they can turn things around. I don't know if they will, but for that team to be so young, I think this is a win that will definitely make them feel a lot better about where they're trying to go as a team and what they're doing with their team.
Marquez, in regards to what Crystal just said, though, about Alex Bentley buying a basket, it's about as rough as watching someone on Wheel of Fortune buy a vowel. It's not in the puzzle, and they lose $250 off of their winnings for that round. Bentley tonight was 2 for 13 from the field. That's 15.4%. 0 for 2 from beyond the arc. Butt did make her 3 free throws, but was -5 in efficiency. But again, though, Marquez, because Crystal actually touched base on this last night about Alyssa Thomas stepping up, stepping her game up, and here she is again at the final buzzer with .5 left, tipping a ball in to win the game. But also Morgan Tuck finally coming alive too after a rough start to her rookie campaign. But again, Marquez, when you lose so often and you lose 7 straight games or whatnot, it kind of wears on you mentally more than it does physically. It's kind of like you forget to do a lot of things right, whether it's closing games down as we saw with Connecticut losing to Phoenix a few weeks ago. But Marquez, what do you think was different for CT tonight as opposed to other games previously that finally got them over the hump and got them a W?
I think they played with a bit more urgency this game. Because, since they're so young, I don't think they know quite how to close games out yet. But I think this is going to be a big step for them in terms of gaining that confidence. Because, I would have thought that Seattle was a team that was going to beat them pretty good. But since they showed the fight and energy to come back, I think that's going to show them that they can do it. But the thing with Bentley is she's one of those players that if she's off, she's just not going to impact the game that well. Because she's going to keep on shooting and shooting and shooting. And instead, she could be trying to get her teammates involved, but she's just going to keep going and going and going. And I think that's kind of why her minutes have been down a little bit this year, because she hasn't done that yet. But hopefully for her, she'll get it back together, because she had a good year last year, and they're going to need her.
So again, folks, in a pretty thrilling game with 6 lead changes and 7 times being tied, it's finally won by the Sun at the Final Horn, 77-76. Sun over Storm today from the Mohegan Sun Arena in Uncasville, CT. Guys, moving on to our next game of the night, the Chicago Sky and Indiana Fever hooked up, with the Sky getting a little bit of redemption for last year's playoff exit to the Fever, 73-64 Sky over Indy from Bankers Life Fieldhouse. Final box for the Sky, the rookie Imani Boyette, 16 points, Elena Deladon, 14 points, Cappy Pondexter with 10, following suit Jessica Breland, Erica De Souza, Courtney Vandersloot, Allie Quigley, all 4 of those players with 6 points each. Tamara Young with 4, Jamira Faulkner with 3, Clarissa Dos Santos with 2 points, and 9 minutes played, and Benijah Laney out of the game due to the injured ACL, and Cheyenne Parker, DNP, coach's discretion. For the Indiana Fever, Brianne January, 17 points, and after that, a major drop-off in scoring production for the Fever this evening. Shanice Johnson with 9, Marissa Coleman with 8, Devereaux Peters with 7, Catchings and Mitchell with 6 each. Scoring Lynetta Kaiser with 5, Erica Wheeler with 4, Elena Larkins with 2, and Natalie Achanwa, no points in 2 minutes played. Breen Mosley, DNP, coach decision, and again, Maggie Lucas, DNP, and placed on injured reserve basically with that ACL injury as well. The game stats, the game played, of course, in the Bankers Life Fieldhouse in downtown Indianapolis, Indiana. Total attendance tonight, 7,533. Time of the game, 1 hour, 41 minutes. Today's officials were Daryl Humphrey, Jonathan Sterling, and Cheryl Flores. No text issued in the ball game. And once more, 6 lead changes, and 7 times the teams were tied in this matchup as well. So, KT, the Sky, kind of looked to a different player to kind of get things going. It's Imani Boyette leading the way for a change with 16 points. EDD right behind her with 14 points, and then there was Cappy Pondexter with 10. But other than that, though, not a whole lot of production from anyone behind them outside those 3 players. Again, pretty much low scoring as well. But, Crystal, what do you think that was the biggest talking point or biggest reason why the Sky got this one on the road, though, in your mind?
I mean, you said it, Imani Boyette. I mean, about time they start playing her a lot more. I think they should have been playing her a lot more minutes out the gate. And you notice that the games that she has played for them, they've been really good games. They've resulted in some pretty decent wins for them. So hopefully they start playing Imani a lot more. I think Imani is going to be a difference maker for them going down the stretch, especially if they just kind of barely squeak into the playoffs. I think Imani is going to be the reason why. We also have to congratulate Cappy, too, for her 6,000 points in a career, which is a pretty awesome thing for her to do. And, looking at the stats, looking at players who were involved, it was 4 people, and half of those 4, well, except for Imani, because I'm not sure if Imani started. But, yeah, Chicago needs more bench production, definitely. I know you guys are probably getting tired of me saying that benches matter, but in the pros, benches do matter. And, you're seeing it. Yeah, they got the win, but I think Chicago's record should be better than what it is right now. They're a better team than what their record seems to be. And, I think eventually, you know how we talked about it with Tina Charles and burnout? You don't want Imani to burn out, So I think eventually they're going to have to fix that problem, especially if they're trying to make the playoffs. But it was a good win for them.
Crystal, might as well start calling it Bench Lives Matter for the rest of the season, I think, in regards to the bench production. Getting to Todd Mintz real quick, he said, with Chapman finally playing Boyette, she is delivering. He loves the mid-range game and inside game. Every board chance she grabs with Deladon being with the Souza playing better this season. Chapman has a nice problem to have Boyette pushing for minutes and to start at center, which he thinks is inevitable at this point. So, again, Marquez, pretty big talking point again that a rookie steps up, and so early in her career to step up and win a game for her team. Again, Boyette has 16 points, 8 of 12 from the field, did not attempt a free throw or a 3 this evening, was a +8, and also, by the way, did grab 12 boards tonight as well in the process. So again, Marquez, a rookie stepping up in a pretty big situation, I think is pretty eye-opening to see. But what do you think though about not just Boyette, but again Chicago getting the win tonight over Indiana?
Well, yeah, this is a win I think that they needed to win, and it's big that someone like Boyette was able to come off the bench and produce for them because, like Crystal said, they need it. They need bench production from wherever they can get it because Quigley's numbers are slightly down this year, and aside from her, to this point, no one else has really stepped up for them. But if Imani can do it, which I think she can, and I hope they do start playing her more because she will make a difference, I think they'll be able to string some more wins together.
Crystal, I think that the biggest talking point right now with the Fever is they continue to scuffle and struggle on the offensive front so far. Again, it's January with 17 points, and again, there's nobody backing up the leading scorer in double figures. Sanish Johnson has 9, Coleman has 8, so on and so forth. Catchings, again, has another rough night at the office, shot 37% from the field. Tiffany Mitchell had an off night too. So, Crystal, we've talked a lot about, the importance of having, puzzle pieces or players backing up somebody in regards to, rough nights at the office. But, Crystal, what's the biggest talking point with how or why, in your mind, the Fever have struggled so mightily in games as of late?
Well, me and Marquez, I don't know if we were on air, we talked about this, but that team is very disconnected right now. I think, with the news of Stephanie White leaving after the season. I think that has a lot of play, especially the young players on their mind. You know, they're especially if you're young, you're trying to fix the system. You're already trying to learn the system, and then now the coach that you're learning from is not going to be there. And I think Tamika Catchings is playing like she's 37 years old. I think she's 37. She's playing like she's that old now, and it's unfortunate, because she's on her way out. But they're just playing with so much disconnect right now. It's kind of sad to watch.
Yeah, Marquez, you, me, and Crystal actually touched base on this 2 nights ago. We had talked about this off-air when we were in our off-air discussions post the show, and we just talked about, how you've kind of seen some very minor disconnect from the coaching staff and the players right now. Again, now, I mean, it's not like a big, like we're not making excuses for Indiana's struggles, Marquez, but when you can kind of see it, it's kind of pretty evident. You don't need Braille to call it or see it like it is again. And coaching changes really have effects on teams, especially mid-season, or you're informed about something like this, Marquez. And I think though that it is playing just a little bit in the back of Indiana's minds about this move coming, Marquez. But what do you think though has been the real problem though? More so on the floor than off the floor in your mind with the Fever and their offensive woes as of late?
It's really hard to put a finger on it because, I mean, they have some nice players, but at the same time, a big part of their bench either doesn't play or they don't get significant minutes because, I mean, Achanwa doesn't play. Wheeler, she started to play at the beginning of the year, but her minutes have really decreased since January's been back. And they don't really have that consistent threat off the bench. Tiffany Mitchell can do it, but at the same time, she's a rookie. So, I mean, you got to expect her to struggle some games and have ups and downs. And I think I may have told Crystal that once Lucas went down, I really thought they were going to make a change in terms of, like, bringing another guard in that can provide the offense because I'm just not sure if they have that yet, aside from Mitchell. But, I mean, when she struggles, you just won't get much because she is a rookie. But I just think maybe once they get fully healthy, they may be able to right the ship a little bit. But I don't know. I just think they're going to be one of those teams that's going to really fight to have to make it to the playoffs. And if they do make it, they're going to be one of those borderline teams. But we'll see.
So again, folks, Chicago over Indiana 73-64. That is Chicago's 4th consecutive victory during their now 4-game winning streak. And guys, the last game for tonight's schedule was close, and then it became a boat race as the Minnesota Lynx hooked up with the Atlanta Dream tonight in a rematch of the 2011 and 2013 WNBA Finals. It was a 1-point Minnesota lead after one half of play, and then it got ugly from hot Atlanta GA today. It's Minnesota romping Atlanta 110-78, a turnaround second half of the Lynx after being up by 1 at the break. Again, it's 110-78 Minnesota over Atlanta for Minnesota's 9-0 start now on the season. And both them and Los Angeles, again, remain the only 2 unbeaten teams in the league. For the Lynx tonight, Maya Moore, 19 points, Gia Perkins with 18, Lindsey Whalen with 17, Sylvia Fowles with 14, Renee Montgomery with 13, along with Natasha Howard with 13, Rebecca Brunson with 9, Keisha Hampton with 3, Janelle McCarville and Bashara Graves all with 2, and Simone Augustus, again, DNP, due to concussion-like symptoms. Hopefully, Mon will be back either tomorrow in D.C. or sometime next week. For the Atlanta Dream, Tiffany Hayes, 23 points, Angel McCautry, 22, Elizabeth Williams with 13, Lasia Clarendon with 10, Megan Simmons with 3, Rashonda Gray, Bria Holmes, Rachel Holloway with 2, Sierra Burdick only with 1 in the game, Carla Cortijo, no points, and Mati Ajivan also with no points. The entire roster played tonight for ATL. The game played from Phillips Arena in downtown Atlanta, Georgia. Total attendance tonight, 5,368. Time of the game, 2 hours and 4 minutes. Refereeing crew was Roy Goldbein, Janetta Graham, and Jeff Wooten. 13 lead changes and 12 times the teams were tied in this game. So, Crystal, we had a pretty good game brewing up until the third quarter ended, and Minnesota was up by 15. And they ended up cold-clocking Atlanta with a 110-78 final. And also, Crystal, as well, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different Minnesota players in double figures. That is a scary final box score for Atlanta, especially for Minnesota, especially when that second half came and gone and of how they just totally dominated that second half of play. Crystal, what really changed in this game as you look back over it in your mind?
What changed was is Atlanta fell asleep. To be honest with you, I mean, they were so close, and like I believe at halftime I think Atlanta was down by 1, if I can remember correctly. So I think Atlanta probably just got complacent, and they were like, oh, we're this close, and Minnesota just turned it on. I mean, that's the thing about Minnesota. They kind of had the same thing that LA has going on, and I don't mean by just being undefeated. I mean, like, there's times where LA and Minnesota takes lapses out of games and they kind of slow down, but they realize what they're doing. They're like, oh no, we can't let this team take our undefeated records. Not now, and they start to pick it up. But I think Atlanta ultimately lapsed in the game too. I mean, I think they realized how close they were, and they probably got excited to be that close. And then next thing you know, I mean, Maya Moore and company just hit the gear. I mean, they have more than a third gear. They have like a fifth and sixth gear as well. It's just they're showing you why they're undefeated. I said this again, and this time they use 7 different players to get it done, and that's good. I mean, the sad thing is Minnesota doesn't use their bench most often. I mean, they only had 9 players, I believe, that played in the game altogether, but some kind of way they keep getting it done without using their bench, and that just lets you know how powerful of a team they are. And it also helps that Waylon was involved a lot in this game. I mean, normally when you watch games where Waylon's not involved, it's fairly close. But Gia Perkins actually had a really good game too. I think this is her best game so far with Minnesota, and that's half of the reason why they also win. I mean, they need more they need more production from Waylon and Perkins in order for them to go on. And Fowles and Maya Moore as usual had good games, and Brunson had 9 of herself. So Minnesota's just on a roll right now. They're hot, and if they keep playing this, there's no way they're going to slow down anytime soon.
Marquez, again, 6 different Minnesota players had double-digit points tonight. Again, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 6 players. And everybody that played was a plus in plus-minus efficiency. You had Moore at plus 25, Perkins plus 22, Waylon plus 15, Fowles plus 23, Montgomery plus 23, Howard plus 16, Brunson plus 10, Hampton plus 8, McCarville plus 4, and Graves plus 7. So everybody on the Minnesota team that played was in positive figures for plus-minus. And again, 6 different players had double-digit points tonight scored as well. And also, as Crystal alluded to again, Marquez, Atlanta really got complacent in that second half. Again, only put up 18 in the third and 15 in the fourth, and Minnesota piled up 32 on Atlanta in both the third and fourth quarters. So Marquez, I mean, we know that Minnesota kind of has, third and fourth gear. That was complete overdrive today by Minnesota in that second half. What is your final take, though, about this game tonight between Minnesota and Atlanta?
Well, yeah, it was impressive. I mean, Perkins needed to step up in order for them to win this game, I feel, because she's someone that hasn't really performed to what I think she really had hoped to once she came. And I think having a game like this for her is going to be big for them, especially if she can keep it up. But in terms of Atlanta, what kind of did them in was how flat they came out in the second half. And really, outside of Hayes, Williams, and Angel, no one really did that much. And even so, Angel had 22 points off of 21 shots, so she wasn't really efficient tonight. And Hayes had most of her points, well, half of her points come from the free throw line. And outside of that, like I said, they didn't really have anyone else to provide that extra punch, whether it be off the bench or someone else that started. But all around, it was a pretty fun game to watch until the second half, though.
Crystal, it just seems like, Atlanta has no luck playing Minnesota regular season or WNBA finals because it just seemed like they always end up on the wrong side of the result of the game. As we kind of alluded to again, it was Hayes, McCautry, and Williams really carrying the load. Maybe Clarendon can be thrown in there too. She was the only other one that had double-digit scoring tonight. She had 10. 4 players for Atlanta had double digits tonight, but I mean, as well, Hayes, minus 24 in efficiency. Williams minus 10, Clarendon 11. They only had 1 player this evening, or actually I take that back. Everybody for Atlanta, Crystal, was in negative figures. So you had positive figures for Minnesota and negative figures for the Dream tonight. So obviously we know that they imploded, but Crystal, what's your final takeaway though for Atlanta's sake in this game again? They were right there at the threshold, being down by 1 at the half, and then the wheels sadly fell off at the worst possible time.
Um, kind of like we said, if Atlanta has to keep their foot on the gas, and that's easier said than done. I mean, there's still a lot of season left. I still think Atlanta will be a top team. I still think Atlanta will definitely make the playoffs, but they're gonna see Minnesota one more time, two more times, I believe. The way that this new schedule is set up, um, you don't want to get blown out each time you play them. So you want to get better every time you play the same team you've played against, whether you keep losing or not. I mean, you want to win ultimately, but you don't want to keep getting blown out by the same team. So I think Atlanta has to figure out what it is that they need to do in order to not lose these leads like that, or lose when they're so close to a team as good as Minnesota. Because at first it was like they were building their confidence up, but then after a while, it's kind of like, yeah, that happened. So I think in order for Atlanta to keep their confidence on playing good teams like that, they have to keep the gas going and not just halt when they get to a certain level.
Crystal, we'll stay with you real quick. We're going to get kind of to a hypothetical game, but again, we'll have to wait up until June 21st for the first potential battle of the unbeatens between the Sparks and Lynx. That will be a home-and-home series, folks. June 21st at Staples Center, June 24th from Target Center, Minneapolis. Now, again, guys, a reminder again that the most consecutive wins to start the season was 10, set by Minnesota back in 2012 when they clinched a playoff spot about roughly 2 months or 3 months into the season that year, but before they fell to Indiana in the 2012 finals. So, Crystal, I know we have to wait a couple of weeks, but as of right now, with both teams still unbeaten, Minnesota 9-0, LA 8-0, who is probably the favorite to win the first matchup if they, in fact, are still unbeaten as they get there, if they're both to get there unbeaten on June 21st? Because right now, I mean, we've heard a lot of the uproar or backlash against LA being unbeaten in regards to either strength of schedule or what have you. But what do you think, though, perhaps, as you kind of think about this potential unbeaten matchup coming up in a couple of weeks?
I mean, I know who I want to win. I want LA to win, but I think Minnesota is probably I think they're the ones that everybody's expecting to win. Anything can happen. We honestly won't know until they play each other. It's going to be a good game. I know I'm going to have like 3 heart attacks watching that game, probably even more. I'm going to be a skeleton by the time you guys see me after that game. But, I mean, I think, like I said, I would love LA to win, but I think many people are expecting Minnesota to win. And I honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Minnesota's a good team. You can't really say nothing bad about them other than the fact that they should probably use their bench a little bit more for the sake of burnout towards the end of the season. But you really can't say nothing bad about them. I mean, they're just smoking everybody right now.
Marquez, like I said, we'd have to wait roughly about 2 weeks, roughly, to get to this potential matchup of the unbeaten behemoths between both LA and Minnesota. They both got to get to this game unbeaten, of course, because if not, it may lose a bit of the magic, you can say. But Marquez, if they were to play, sometime like tomorrow or Sunday, who would probably in your mind be favored to win this matchup and why?
Well, yeah, I mean, the favorite for a lot of people is Minnesota, like Crystal said, but I think I'm gonna stick with LA for the time being because I just think that they have players that can match Minnesota's defensive intensity and energy in terms of, they have Beard and Essence Carson that can match Montgomery and Perkins' energy, whether it be when they come in off the bench or if they make a change for that game. So I think it'll be a good game, definitely, but I still think LA at the time, at this second, is going to be the one to win, though.
We still have some work to do, folks, but again, the first matchup of the year between the Lynx and Sparks, it'll be the first of a home-and-home series between the two teams. Again, with the new format, they'll be playing each other only 3 times, and following those 2 games in a week, they won't play each other again back in LA until September 8th, I want to say, is the next time they'll play each other again. So not until September following those 2 games, home and home between LA and Target Center. The next matchup will not be up until September between the Sparks and Lynx. But again, they are both on pace to either tie or set a new best start in WNBA history. Again, the most wins to start the season is 10, set by the Lynx back in 2012 when they fell to Indiana in the WNBA Finals. With now the Lynx 9-0 and LA 8-0. They will be playing again tomorrow. As we do now, guys, get to the games tomorrow on the Saturday menu of games. 3 more games for the WNBA viewership out there to tune in and watch. They will begin with the Lynx visiting the Mystics tomorrow. The game can be seen on WNBA League Pass, or for our friends in the DC area on the Monumental Sports Network online feed. So again, Crystal, now a chance for the Lynx now to tie their all-time record for most wins to the start of the season at 10-0 tomorrow. Crystal, thoughts and who you got winning the game?
I think the Lynx are gonna tie. I think they're gonna tie the game. I mean, why not? I mean, they might be a little tired because they have. Oh no. Oh. Oh, maybe not. Oh, yeah, they're gonna be tired. I just realized they're away, right? I was looking at the thing wrong. I looked at the thing on the wrong side. I was like, oh, they're not gonna. They might be a little tired, but they're ultimately gonna go to 10-0. I mean, Washington, the way that Washington's been playing, they're so inconsistent, which is sad. I don't know if Washington can be the one that gives Minnesota their first loss. Now, if Washington goes in there tomorrow and beats Minnesota, I think I'm probably gonna just be shocked for the whole day, but I don't think Washington's going to be the team that can beat Minnesota and give them their first loss.
So Marquez, Crystal's going to take the Lynx in this one. What do you think about this matchup? Again, it's kind of like David versus Goliath. But what do you think?
Well, yeah, I have to go with Minnesota because I just don't think Washington will have enough to compete with, because they can do it, some people, but at the same time it's really inconsistent. You really never know what you're going to get with some of the Mystics players. But I will say, though, if Misamin and Dolson come out strong and aggressive and possibly get some of the Minnesota post and foul trouble, maybe, which is going to be easier said than done, then I think they'll have a bigger chance. But I just don't see it happening, though.
Yeah, no, I agree with both KT and Marquez. I mean, in regards, though, I mean, this could be a case, though, guys, where the Mystics come out strong for a half, and then, you know, the Maya Clinic opens her business and just runs all over the Mystics in the second half, so we're all going to take the Lynx over the Mystics tomorrow. At 5 o'clock game, guys, on League Pass, Fox Sports Southwest and MSG. The Liberty and Stars will hook up at 5 o'clock tomorrow from the AT&T Center in San Antonio, Texas. Crystal, what do you think?
I am going to go with. Let me see. Let me get a hard look at this. I want to say, I want to say New York, but we all know that New York, they start off really well, but then now they're starting to get to their old habits. But you know, for Marquez's sake, I'm gonna say New York with a question mark for Marquez, because I know deep down he probably wants San Antonio to get another win, but I don't know if it's going to come by way of New York, but at the same time, it might be. And especially if Monique Curry's eating hot wings again, then you know she's going to have a great game. So y'all better hope Monique Curry ate those hot wings, but I'm going to have to go with New York on that one with a question mark.
All right, so Crystal's going to go New York plus question mark Marquez. Now, I think, though, that Marquez, as before we get to you, my thoughts here on this, is the Liberty are going to want to seek out, and, you know, they really want some heads on Bill Lambier's desk after that, you know, pretty embarrassing defeat at the hands of the Sparks on Tuesday night. Again, they got rolled by 23 and looked really lackluster in that game. And, you know, of course, the value of the opponent, of course, is one deal if they'll be playing San Antonio, but in San Antonio. But Marquez, what do you think, though, for this matchup?
Well, I think we have a better chance than what people think. For the sake of being New York, they can have their struggles on offense as well, and sometimes they have lapses defensively too, and they really don't have that much off the bench that they can consistently rely on at this point, and neither does San Antonio, but at the same time, we still fight really hard. And we play better defense than I think people expect, because, I mean, you saw in those two meetings against LA, they really bottled Candace Parker up for a lot of the games. But, of course, since she was able to find her way eventually, but at the same time, I think if we can do that with Candace and maintain that same defensive intensity with Tina and cause other people to shoot, I think we have a good chance. It's just a matter of us making shots, which isn't always a guarantee, though.
Yeah, well, we've kind of seen that come to fruition, sadly, Marquez, at least with the Stars, you know, either the layup problems or what have you. But as of right now, all three of us as well will pick the Liberty over the Stars, where Todd is saying he's got the Stars with an upset victory, 77-75 is his final prediction for the game tomorrow. Then the guys, the sort of late night game, but kind of early afternoon game for us West Coast folks. LA will visit Dallas for the first time in this sort of fractured franchises history amongst Detroit and Tulsa, now Dallas Sparks and Wings on WNBA League Pass, or in the Dallas area on Texas Channel 47, 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 tips. So, Crystal, I'm not going to call this a trap game yet for Los Angeles, of course, with them sitting at 8-0. But again, with how Dallas has kind of scuffled lately, still no Skylar Diggins. But I still, though, think that with how LA's played, but still a favorite to win this game. What do you think, though, about this and why?
I think LA's going to win, but Dallas just got Glory back, so the game's going to be really scrappy. They have more of a they have more of a wing now with Glory being back, and it's going to be a little bit harder for NECA and all them to maneuver because Glory Johnson still plays defense pretty well from what I saw, and she still has that fire in her. But I do think LA's going to win. Is it going to be easy? No. I think it's going to be a scrappy game. NECA's probably, unfortunately, going to get elbowed again. I mean, it always happens. But I'm going with LA, but it's going to be a pretty scrappy game.
So one vote for Los Angeles. Now, again, Marquez, I know it's kind of tough for you with both San Antonio and Dallas in the same state, and they're both playing the same night. And again, with how LA has played this year so far as well in regards to either blowout wins or grinding games out. What do you think though for this matchup and why?
Well, yeah, I think that I think LA is going to win this one for the sake of it being that I just don't think Dallas has enough either because Skylar's not playing, and then they really have their struggles offensively as well. Like Sims has really been off in terms of her efficiency, and their offense just doesn't really have that much flow to it. I mean, when the last game they had against Washington, I think it would be a lot of instances where they just throw it to Powers and have her just create something, and I mean that works. But at the same time, I don't think that's what she should want to be doing on offense a majority of the time. And I think with LA though, I just don't think that Dallas is going to be able to keep up, especially if they can't make their shots either. And another thing, they haven't really been defending that well as a team. Against Washington, I see they gave up 87 as opposed to them just scoring 79. And I just don't think they'll be able to pull it off though. I just think they fouled a little bit too much as well, and they kind of let that get to them. And once they start unraveling, it's just really hard for them.
Yeah, but it's always tough. So we're going to, once again, pick all the away teams for Saturday. But, Marquez, we have one question, though, from Todd Mintz in regards to the Stars. He wants to know, though, when do you think we're going to see more of what Astor Nindor can bring to the table over Jana Pell-Marinelli? What do you think?
Well, see, that's tough because, I mean, I'm talking about Stu, she is really still raw because she's really young and she hasn't played. She didn't play last year. I think the last time she played was 2014. So, I mean, it's kind of a lot to expect for her in terms of going out there and just dominating because she's still raw and she's still learning on the fly. But Jane has seen her numbers decrease, though, and I think that can be attributed to her coming a little bit out of shape. I'm going to give a leeway there because she did get married in the offseason as opposed to playing overseas. But with Jane, though, she's one of the only people on the offense that actually know the system in offense because if you ever watch our games, you'll see that she's directing people on the floor, calling plays out, setting the screens, telling people where to go. So I think to start the game, she's out there because she's the leader for this team. Despite her not scoring that much, she is someone that everyone else looks up to because, I mean, she's been there the longest, and I think Dan is just using her experience to help people along the way. And I don't think she'll get benched just yet. She might, but I don't think it's going to happen.
All right, and guys, now we'll move now to Sunday's games. We have 3 more games on the Sunday schedule for the WNBA. Connecticut will visit Atlanta on WNBA League Pass, Fox Sports Southeast, or on WTIC at 12 noon Pacific, 3 o'clock Eastern. 3 o'clock game, Chicago visits Phoenix on WNBA League Pass or the U2 in the Chicago area, and also at 3 o'clock PDT on NBA TV and Fox Sports Indiana. Seattle visits Indiana on Sunday. So, Crystal, beginning with the Sun and Dream, who you got?
The Sun are just coming off of a very good win that's going to give them some confidence, but and then I'm going to go with Atlanta. I mean, they just got beat up. You know, you don't want to lose 2 games in a row, and especially after you get beat up like that in a game. I'm going to go with Atlanta because I think they're going to have extra fire in them, and I expect Tiffany Hayes to fall on the ground a lot, and and make an impact, not with the ground, but an impact in the game. But I expect for her to try to keep them afloat. So I'm gonna have to go with Atlanta.
Well, make sure the ice bath is ready with Tiffany Hayes' name on it. Marquez, Sun coming off a confidence-boosting second win of the year. Atlanta coming off of a butt-whooping at the hands of Minnesota. What do you think?
Yeah, I'll go with Atlanta because, like Crystal said, I think they're going to be out for redemption. I think Connecticut is a team that they know they can beat because they've done it before already.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm just going to go with them.
Yeah, so all three of us will pick ATL at home over Connecticut. 3 o'clock game, guys, on the West Coast, 6 Eastern on League Pass. Sky visit the Mercury. Crystal, what do you think?
I want to give it to the Mercury on this one. I mean, I know they haven't been doing very well, but Chicago. They now there's days where they play really well, and then there's days where you're like, what are you doing? And with that being said, with them being inconsistent, Phoenix is inconsistent too, especially on the defensive end. I mean, Phoenix kind of just lets people run all over them defensively, but something in my gut, I'm using my gut feeling again. Something in my gut is going to say Phoenix, but as I've been doing lately, question mark, because I'm not sure. But I'm going to go with Phoenix with a question mark.
Okay, Marquez, there's one X but a question mark. What do you think, Sky or Merc from the Purple Palace?
Yeah. I'm going to have to say Phoenix with like 5 question marks because I mean, I watched the game when they played us, and like you said, even though our offense struggles, there were points where we were having our way with them on our offensive side. Like Mariah was just running, she was just getting to the rim at will, and I don't think that Phoenix necessarily has a solution for that because Griner can't stay on the floor, and no one else can really play defense. So I don't know. I think it'll be a pretty high-scoring game because I'm not sure how well Chicago will. I don't know. Like my gut is saying, I'm pulling a crystal. My gut is saying Phoenix, but I really wouldn't be surprised if it's Chicago that came out on top.
So we have X with 1 question mark, X with 5. I'll take X with 10 question marks if we're going to keep this rolling. So all of us have got Phoenix winning this one, but with a combined total of 16 question marks at the end of tic-tac-toe for Mercury X Factor tic-tac-toe. And then, guys, the other 3 o'clock game on Sunday, Storm and Fever, both teams looking to bounce back from either heartbreaking or rough game at the offices. That game can be seen, folks, on NBA TV or Fox Sports Indiana in the Indianapolis area. KT, what do you think?
I'm sorry, my computer did something crazy. What was what was that?
Seattle or Indiana? Who you got?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I heard you that time. I'm gonna go with Indiana. I think Indiana is due for a win. They have a pattern. I've been noticing a pattern with Indiana. I'm not gonna say what the pattern is yet because I want to make sure I'm right about it. I'm not quite sure, but I'm gonna go. I have to go Indiana. I mean, I don't think Tamika Catchings is gonna let them lose too many games in a row. I mean, Seattle's starting to pick it up a little bit, but I'm gonna go with Indiana on that one.
All right, 1 vote for the Fever. How about you, Marquez? What do you got?
This is a tough one too. But I'll go with Indiana for the sake of it being that I think with them being at home, everyone's going to step up a little bit more so, especially since they lost this last game. And Seattle doesn't exactly have the best bench in the world either. And I think Indiana's just going to be is just tougher than them in terms of defensively and driving on the offensive side. So I think I'll go with Indiana.
So we're going to go away teams for Saturday and home teams for Sunday, folks. We all have picked Atlanta, Phoenix, and Indiana to win the games on Sunday. We're picking the away teams for tomorrow's games on Saturday. With that, though, folks, we will be back with you folks back here on Monday night after we have the weekend off, back here on Monday night following or on Monday night right now, time of show to be determined. I do have a pretty hefty DJing schedule coming up this week at with a baseball team I'm doing some work for. But again, folks, we'll be back with you folks on Monday. So, folks, enjoy the weekend of hoops. 3 games on Saturday, 3 more on Sunday for the upcoming weekend. For Crystal Thomas in Los Angeles and Marquez Anderson from Project Spurs, this is Cal McClurg from Studio 171 in San Diego signing off. We'll see you folks back here on Monday night. Until then, have a great weekend, folks, and good night. Bye-bye.